Hi there.
Hi guys.
Happy Friday. We've made it another week and it is June 25th, 2021.
Woo!
And here we are, your Southwest Florida Homes team, girls with Coldwell Banker. And today we're going to talk to you about what's going on in real estate. We're going to be ready to answer any questions if anyone wants to chime in. And what we're going to talk about today, not to freak anybody out, but we know that we've got a lot of people that have moved into Southwest Florida from other areas of the country. That's kind of what is going on down here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that it is hurricane season. And are you ready?
Here we go. Another time for another hurricane season. Yeah, typically June through November.
Yes, ma'am.
Every year. And we all know that, you know, with us being in Florida, we're kind of that dangling peninsula down here, and it is all about preparing, whether or not a hurricane comes or not.
Yes. I know, me being from Michigan, so y'all know I'm the Michigander here. Amy has lived here, born and raised in Southwest Florida, but I can tell you, oh, hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
I can tell you that moving down here from Michigan, we don't know the word hurricane. And so when I got the opportunity to live through Irma, I learned a whole lot. So, you know, you go through a whole lot of emotions trying to understand the different climate and weather changes that are going on. And so in this area, we want to keep you up to date. And so you know what you need to do to make sure that it'll be safe and smooth for you.
And this is the thing, is that everybody hears about hurricanes, and they can be big and they can be scary. I mean, for sure. We know that each area has their own things, whether it be tornadoes or, you know, whatever it is with your snow and being locked inside your home and everything being shut down. That will never happen here with the snow. But we know, too, sometimes there's years that go by and no hurricanes come through at all, but you always want to prepare because you never know. So
that's true.
When a hurricane comes through, basically the way that you want to prepare is there could be power outage. You could be stuck, you know, for several days or a week or depending, you know, with no electricity. So when it comes to preparing, we'll go through a list with you guys for things that you should have ready and have packed.
Yes. Yes. And I can tell you too, again, being the fact that I've only been through the one and through Irma, I mean, the news makes it really scary. And whether this is your forever home or whether this is a second home for you, you know, during that whole hurricane season, a lot of you that are lucky enough to be able to be snowbirds, that you have your home down here, you're not here. You're up north where it's cold, where, you know, during the summer months. But remember, you still need to worry about protecting your investment down here. So whether you live here full time and you ever think that you might be here during hurricane season, or you're still up north, you need to make sure that your investment is protected.
Yep, absolutely. And how do we do that? So here you've probably heard of hurricane shutters. And when we are selling homes to the buyers out of state, they're always wondering, I mean, some of them have never seen a hurricane shutter. They don't know what they are, and there are different types. So sometimes you're going to buy a home that may have hurricane shutters, or maybe they have the bolts that are, you know, all the way around all the doors and the windows for manual shutters that you will then screw on there, bolt in. Maybe they are electric and automatic shutters. You push a button and the shutters come down. This is wonderful. Or if it's a home that doesn't have shutters. So some of the older homes around here may not have. Or
impact resistant
windows and doors.
Another very good one. And after 1992, when Hurricane Andrew came through, they changed a lot of the building codes because that really rocked everything. And so even though Irma was a bigger storm than Andrew was, Andrew did way more damage because they didn't have a lot of those protections in place on the building codes that they do have today.
Right. So the building codes have changed a lot, and that's where we're going with that. So things are only getting better and better. Even like the elevation that certain homes, the minimum elevation that homes are built on, that has changed over the years too. So things are getting better, and you are seeing new construction homes now that are built with the storm-resistant windows.
And as Amy had talked about too, just even being out of power and this and that with being out of power, the power grids, they've changed those. They've upgraded everything. So we're ready for storms down down here in Florida.
No problem.
We've got it. But
Yeah.
there's definitely things that you should do. Like, first of all, do you know when you're buying your home if you're in a flood zone? We need to know this. This is one of those major issues. People think about the rain and they think about the wind, but really it's flooding that is the primary issue that people have damage for their homes. Why is my chair low and yours is high? I feel like I'm shrinking.
She's shrinking on us.
Okay.
Poor thing.
I know.
We'll talk about Hurricane Irma here just for a second. So Catherine mentions, flooding is a big part of issues that come with hurricanes. When Hurricane Irma came through, we have home sellers, we've sold their homes. And just to back up a second, when you're selling a home with us, you're going to complete something that's called a seller's disclosure. And that's about 3 or 4 pages of all kinds of questions you answer about your home. Well, one of the questions they ask is about flooding. So some of these homes, when Irma came through, didn't necessarily flood, but water made it into the home from those blowing winds that were blowing, the torrential rains that came here and just stood still for several weeks here before the hurricane even came. So the wind was blown into the homes from the hurricane. That necessarily was not from flooding, but again, being prepared and having that coverage, too. So there's lots of things that happen with a hurricane: flooding, the winds, and maybe some falling trees and things like that. And that goes into some of the things that you can do to prepare.
Definitely. When she mentioned like trees and whatnot, it's super important. It's not just neighborhood looking pretty. It's super important that you make sure that your trees are trimmed, that there's no dead branches laying around. All of those things are things that can fly. And what do they call them? They call them a potential projectile. So you don't want anything that's around your yard. And again, even if you don't live here, it's really important to make sure that you have your lawn maintenance, your trees maintained. If you need some help, we've got good people we can shout you out to. Just to keep all of those kinds of hazards at bay.
Yeah, which includes your outdoor furniture. So that's on your hurricane prepared list. Now, we have a list here that we go by, and most people, like Catherine mentioned, if you don't live here, when you are closing up to leave for the summer, you are bringing in all of your outdoor furniture, and that's one of the reasons why, is because you never know if there's going to be a storm that comes.
Being the Michigander, I never would have thought of that. Like, never, ever. So it's one of those things that's what we're here to help you with, just to understand, what you're doing in this kind of new environment.
So what kind of things can you do to prepare? So lots and lots of checklists out there. Water is a really big one because you're losing power, you're losing water unless you're on the well water system and septic. But what a lot of people do is they go ahead and they sanitize the bathtub and any of the water containers and go ahead and get that stuff filled up. That way you have usable water. So when you're doing your grocery shopping, on your list, you want to get your gallons and gallons of water, non-perishable foods, canned items, things like that you can actually use and eat if you had to with no electricity.
Yep. You want to make sure that you've got a first aid kit available. Should you have anything that you need, you want it right handy. You don't want to be scurrying around, especially if power's out or something like that. And that can definitely happen. And that includes things like your medications. If you take regularly some medications, make sure that you've got that handy dandy right in your first aid kit.
Yep, absolutely. And some people too, they have their medication set up to where make sure that you have those 3-month supply or whatever that is if your medication falls into that category. Flashlights and batteries.
Definitely flashlights and batteries. It's always good. You've got those ones that are double duty that also work as a lantern. Good to have. And when this season comes in, they're sitting in your closet, but double check your batteries. Make sure that everything is ready to go. And that goes to like a battery-powered radio, battery-powered hand crank radio. So when power is out, it seems very, very isolating when you don't really know what's going on. So keep a radio available.
That way you can stay in the know, exactly, because that may be the only form of communication that you have with the world. So that goes hand in hand with your candles to make sure you've got plenty of that stuff, and then your lighters, your matches, things like that to get those working.
Along that line, a little toolkit. Make sure you've got yourself a little toolkit.
So a lot of people, you're going to get all these things together, your toiletry items, things like that, clothing items.
Do you have a stock up of toilet paper, anyone? Because
you should by now, because you never know when there's going to be a shortage, right?
Right. We're not going through that again.
Too funny. Sanitation items, just things like that, your clothing, like we said. Now, something that some people don't think about. What about those important documents, family photos, things like that? So, get the deed to your home, things like that. Get that stuff into a Ziploc bag, and maybe that's a good idea that's where it is, and keep that stuff put away. Any family photos, things like that are not replaceable, maybe go ahead and get that stuff put into the bag or scanned in.
Another thing to have on hand in that baggie of yours of important things is cash. Make sure you keep cash just in case there's no power and you can't use your credit cards and whatnot. Have a little store of cash for you. And that goes, it always sends me right back to Irma too. That was one of the main things that was a big issue down here, was people needing gasoline. And in order to get the gasoline, you had to pay with cash because things were down, and there was just a lot of that going on. So you want to make sure you have gas. And do you know what I also have at the very top of my hurricane prepared list? Coffee. Now, it seems really silly, but can I just tell you that every single person I talked to, the one thing that they were most upset about during Irma is they couldn't get their cup of joe. So
I totally get that.
Yeah,
totally get that. Now, don't forget about your furry friends. So we want to make sure that you got all their food and their supplies, maybe their medications if that's what they need, leashes and stuff like that. It's so funny, during Irma, I was hearing different people and reading posts of people making their little doggy bathroom place inside their home. Bringing in grass or having the fake grass come in for the dogs to use the bathroom. It's kind of funny, but these are things we have to think about. If it's storming and
all important. And you've got to think of your four-legged friends too. Should you have to evacuate, make sure that you know the area that you'd be going to. You want to know your evacuation route, and you want to know where places are that are having evacuations and where you can have your pet or not.
And speaking of, places for pets and things like that and evacuations, so knowing where those evacuation routes are, where are the safety places at for you to go should you have to leave your home. Just have a plan in mind. And none of this obviously is to scare anyone, but we are in Florida and these things do happen. Irma came in 2017 and here we are in 2021. So things come, sometimes they don't, but it's just about being prepared.
My mother would say better safe than sorry. So better safe than sorry.
Too. Absolutely. So a lot of changes over the years for the hurricane preparedness and just knowing what to do and being prepared.
We've never been in a better position. Just things we are prepared. I mean, that's the thing where the government has helped out in having all of the precautions. So with better building codes and, like I said, better power grids, and just they're ready for it.
It's getting better and better. Yeah. So we'll have a list up for you guys so that you have the list in front of you to pull off your checklist.
And if you have any questions, then you know who you can reach out to.
Absolutely. We are your girls in the know, your Southwest Florida Homes team with Coldwell Banker here.
So thanks for checking this out. And if you have any other questions, please, by all means, put it in comments, reach out to us, call, email, check out our website at southwestfloridahomesteam.com.
Yeah. Good stuff. Awesome. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys real soon.
All right. Sounds good to me. Look forward to it, guys. We'll see you.
Bye, guys.